Hey home cooks, welcome back to Gregcipes. Today I'm making scallion pancakes with beef. Scallion pancakes are a Chinese street food made of unleavened fried dough filled with scallions. But I wanted to show you that it's pretty easy to kind of just put whatever you want into them and customize it to your tastes. Okay, so the first thing that we're doing is making the dough because it has to rest for 30 minutes. So I'm going to start off with about 2.5 cups of flour. I'm also going to add a nice pinch of salt. Mix that up with a fork. And I'm going to make a little well in the middle. And get some hot water from my coffee maker. So we're going to be adding boiling hot water to the flour to make the dough, and probably about like 1.5 to 2 cups worth, maybe 1.5 cups. Yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to just pour it right in little by little and just incorporate the flour with the fork, because one time I made this and used my hand to mix the dough way too quickly, and then you end up with boiling hot flour paste wrapped around your fingers, and it's not a very fun time. So just use the fork until everything kind of cools down to a temperature you can handle it at. We're just trying to get this to form a ball of dough that we can work with. So we want to try to hydrate all the flour in the bowl, and we're just going to be working with this in the bowl. Just going to add a little bit more water. I'm going to try to start bringing everything together with my hand because the dough seems pretty dry. We don't want the dough to be very sticky. We just want a ball to form. We are going to have to knead it for a little while to develop gluten. And if it turns out you added too much water, you can just add a little bit more flour. But don't start adding more, don't determine that you've added too much water until all the flour in the bowl gets incorporated into the ball. If the ball of dough is too sticky, that probably means you added too much water, which I may have done. I'm going to add a little bit more flour. Try to get this ball of dough to be a little less sticky. So I think this is about the consistency I'm looking for. It's not sticky, but it's kind of tacky, and it's nice and soft. So I'm just going to knead it for a little while to develop gluten, and then we're going to cover it and rest it for 30 minutes, and we can work on some other stuff. Resting the dough gives the gluten a chance to kind of relax and form into a nice network that will give the dough the elasticity that we want it to have. So we got a nice ball of dough, and just gonna go ahead and put a clean kitchen towel over this, and it's gonna sit for 30 minutes. Put a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and I'm gonna smack this beef in. Just start breaking it up. So the beef has had a chance to cook a little bit, and some of its fat has rendered out. So I'm going to go ahead and add some other seasonings. Most of the moisture is gone, and some of the beef is starting to show some nice dark caramelization on the bottom. So since this is going to get cooked again inside of the dough, this is a fine time to stop cooking it and take it out of the pan. I got one whole bunch of green onions here. I'm just going to cut all of them up. Okay, so I'm also going to just make sure these are really fine. I'm going to run my knife through them again a couple times. I'm going to brush my cutting board with melted butter to lubricate it for the dough. Silicone brush isn't very good for butter, but I used a regular pastry brush last time and a bunch of the fibers fell into the food. So I'm going to just take a little bit of dough, form into a ball, press it down. It's nice and elastic. And go ahead and roll it out nice and flat. You want the dough to be pretty thin so that your pancake is nice and flaky. It doesn't have to be like a super regular shape, just have to roll it out nice and thin. So now we're gonna brush this with more butter. And then we can just sprinkle our fillings all over it. So heavy on the green onions. And I'm gonna sprinkle some of our beef. The beef, try to go a little easier on because it's a little firmer than the green onion and it can puncture the dough when you're forming the pancake. So try to have a little restraint. Now we can go ahead and roll the whole thing up. Roll it up like this. Really tightly. All the fillings. And then we're going to twist it around itself. And then we're going to take this and flatten it out again. It's okay if the dough rips a little bit. And you can roll this out on this step kind of about as flat as you want. I kind of like to keep the pancakes pretty thick, so I'm not even going to use the rolling pin. I'm just going to keep using my hand and then say that that is good enough. So I'm just going to pour a shallow pool of vegetable oil. Let's go ahead and pour that in. If the fillings leak out, the oil might pop, so be careful. Once you see the edge start to get kind of nice and golden brown, we can start checking the bottom to see if it's where we want it to be at when we flip it. I think that's good. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a flip. Go ahead and check this side. That looks good. Sprinkle just a little bit of salt. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this into 4 pieces. And there you have it. Scallion pancakes with beef. As always, let's take a bite. So of course, the flavor of the green onion is really strong, which is what you want. The dough, it's fried dough, it tastes great. I think the beef really adds a lot. I really think you should try this. I hope you make it for yourself and enjoy. And if you enjoy this video, remember to subscribe for new Gregcipes every week. Hey, home cooks. That felt weird. Just customize it to something that sounded better in my head. I think it's a really good idea to add more things to this kind of thing.